Welcome, guys, to Just a Bit Outside. I'm your host, Brandon Krobling, along with my co host, Nathan Keener. And this will be the last episode of this format, but we still have to stay on it this week as we break down our college football bowl games, moving into our preview of our college football championship game, and talking about our NFL games of this week, our lines, our locks, and always delivering you our bowl prediction. So, Nathan, start us off with our college football bowl game preview. Bama put on Cincinnati 27-6, never stopped. So give us your preview on that, or your review on that.
Sadly, they did put it on the Cincinnati Bearcats 27-21 there. Cincinnati, the fewest yards in college football history in the first half. I mean, they just had problems all game on offense. They couldn't really get anything moving. Credit to Bama, though, for coming out and starting out hot in this game. They came out, they had a game plan, and they jumped ahead early, 17-3 at half, and it was just hard to recover from there. Credit, though, Cincinnati, the cornerback duo that we talked about, they truly did shine in this game. They tried as hard as they could of Sauce Gardner and Kobe Bryant. Sauce didn't allow over 20 yards this in his college career, let alone this game. He allowed one catch. Kobe White allowed 2 catches for 18 yards, so this cornerback duo, they tried their best. This defense tried their best, but the offense couldn't get anything going. 2 of 12 on third downs, 0 of 3 on fourth downs. They were doubled up in yards, 482 to 218. Also doubled up in first downs, 26 to 13. Credit, Bama did not come out and pass the ball like we thought they would. Clearly, they did not want to test this corner duo. And I'd say it's pretty smart. Bryce Young, only 144 passing yards on the game. Brian Robinson, 181 passing yards on the game, 3 touchdowns and a pick. More about Brian Robinson, though, the running back, 26 carries, 204 yards. And the impressive thing is he had 127 of those after contact. If you just take his after contact yards, that's still the most in this college football playoff so far. Beats anyone from Georgia, Michigan, or Cincinnati. That's just impressive. They gave him the ball all day. This is a guy that you look at, he stayed there. He trusted the process, waited behind Najee Harris, Damian Harris, guys along those talents. He waited, stuck it out. Like we said, 204 yards in this game on 26 carries. The transfer from Alabama, the one that transferred to Cincinnati, Jerome Ford, he had 15 carries, 77 yards. It's just the Cincinnati offense couldn't get anything going from the start. Credit to Nick Saban and his staff. They put together a game plan, came out, and completely shut this offense down. We've seen it at times this year be mediocre against smaller level schools. Well, this time it showed up on the biggest stage, happened to be against Alabama. Just not a good showing from them, but the narrative's out there that, this group of 5 shit, it's done. That's kind of dumb, because if you look at the past 5 years here, Ohio State and Washington both lost by 17 points in 2017, Clemson by 18 in 2018, Notre Dame and Alabama themselves lost by 27 in 2019, Oklahoma, they lost by 35 just last year, or 2020. Then last year, OSU, Clemson, and Notre Dame all lost by 17 points. Every other team but Bama. It's just the experiment that Nick Saban's built a complete dynasty down there. Nothing you can take away from Luke Fickell and their staff, because even guys like Ryan Day, coaches like that, they can't get it done. I like it. I like they gave Cincinnati a shot. They earned it. They went in, one at Notre Dame, one at Indiana. They were undefeated. They earned their right. It just sucks it had to go this way.
Yeah, moving on to our next college football playoff game, we have the Georgia Bulldogs beat the Michigan. Again, not a close game like I envisioned this game to be, and you even picked Michigan. So one went different in that game than we really thought was going to happen when we were talking about the preview of it.
Well, Georgia, like we said about Alabama, they came out with a game plan. They opened with a 7-play, 80-yard drive in just over 4 minutes. Got right on the board. They got the ball back after one Michigan first down, which that was a McNamara scramble. After that, they drove 60 yards in 3 minutes. We talked about Michigan maybe pulling out a trick play or two that they've done in the big games. Georgia did it to them. They had a halfback pass into the end zone. Another 3-and-out. Stetson Bennett scrambles, gets them in the field goal range. Now they're up 17-0 with still 42 minutes left in this game. Just in the third quarter, they were down that much. Credit to Michigan. They came out, they responded, the offense did. McNamara had a deep pass to get them into the red zone. Then they tried to run a little trickery. They ran a reverse. Georgia sniffed it out, that veteran defense. Forced for a field goal. Georgia, they had 10 more points after that to close out the first half. Once again, McNamara threw an interception going right into halftime. I don't know what you're supposed to do. They came out of halftime. Michigan had the ball. Darion Kendricks had another interception. Right after that, I mean, it was essentially over for this game. Michigan, they just came out. They were more physical off the ball on both sides, offensive line and defensive line. Michigan, they were the ones doing the bullying all year. We saw it do it against Ohio State. Yeah, Georgia was not having that. We said this defense was compared to some of the best all time. This team showed why. They got out to a big lead. Once they got out to that big lead, only 7 points in that second half. They were light off that defense and just coasted. Stetson Bennett, I mean, I don't like him as a prospect, clearly. 313 yards in this game, 3 touchdowns for him, 20 of 30. The man steps up in big games. He makes the throws when they need to. And with this Georgia run game, which they had 35 carries for 190 yards, you have to respect that run game. You have to stack the box. You can't put so many DBs back there. Zamir White led them with 12 carries for 54 yards, in which is most likely his last college season. They had some young guys like Dewan Edwards step up, 38 yards for them. It's about this defense, though. Nakobe Dean, Jordan Davis, just the linebacking core. We'll talk about that later for the preview of this national championship. They stepped up. That Georgia or Michigan offensive line came in, run the damn ball. Well, they did not do their job as an offensive line unit. 27 carries for 91 yards in this game. That's not going to cut it when Michigan, that's essentially what they do. 237 yards through the air. 2 interceptions, though, both thrown by McCarthy or by McNamara. JJ McCarthy, the freshman, got in, finished the game out 7 of 17. Got a very junk touchdown at the end of this game. Georgia was trying their hardest for a shutout. Well, not getting him in the end zone. They had 3 points there. They were trying so hard. You could tell their pride was a little bit hurt after that Alabama game. They came out. They fucked them up. It's just that simple. Forced 3 turnovers. Michigan was 0 of 3 on 4th down, trying to fight back in that game. Just like we talked about Cincinnati and Luke Fickell, though. Don't take away from what happened this game. Jim Harbaugh led this squad this year from an unranked start to the college football playoff, finally beat Ohio State, won the Big Ten championship game. They made it here. They earned the right. There was a reason they were ranked above Georgia, and Georgia, it seemed like they used that to their advantage. They came out. Kirby Smart had that unit fired up, and we'll talk about it later. They have the rematch back on. And, I mean, I don't know about you, but I didn't expect this game to be this big. 34-11 is an ass whooping, just that simple.
Yeah, I thought that, Michigan would put up a bigger fight. And I thought this game was going to be a 1-possession game, if not a 3-point game. I bet on Michigan covering this in one of my parlays, thinking that Michigan was just going to put up a bigger fight. You got Hutchinson. He had all the hype around him since the OSU game. And that's actually the next game we'll talk about is the OSU beat Utah 48-45, trailed the whole game. And then, Stroud just has one of the best performances that we've seen from a quarterback in the college football playoff bowl game that we have laid out this year. 37 for 46, 80% completion percentage, 573 yards, 6 touchdowns, split between 2 receivers, Marvin Harrison Jr. and Smith Njigma, with 15 receptions, 347 reception yards, and 3 touchdowns. Walk us through your conclusion of this game.
Yeah, this was a very, very, very exciting game that I honestly didn't think Ohio State would be able to fight back from. They got down in this game 14-0, and it seemed like it was very, very, very quick. They had a bad snap halfway through that third, bad snap on 3rd down on their first drive. That got them out. Utah went down and scored again on their second drive. So back to back to open the game. You could tell Utah was just attacking the middle of that Ohio State defense. The linebackers we've talked about. Cade Stover on the show a few times as a tight end. Well, the Lexington native was playing linebacker this game. He just hadn't played there since high school. You also have Steele Chambers, who is a transitioned running back, and they're just not a veteran unit. They attack that early and often right up the center of this gut, and he couldn't do anything about it. Cameron Rising in this game, 214 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, also had 92 yards on the ground, and this game could have had a very different result had Rising not gotten injured in the third quarter. It's just a shame, but credit to Jackson Smith and Jigma and credit to CJ Stroud. Stroud put on a show. He put on a lot of accurate throws on tape, just dropped some balls in buckets to this young receiving core that was without Garrett Wilson, without Chris Olave, their stars. And it didn't matter. Jackson Smith and Jigma has been the leading receiver all year for this squad. And I mean, he showed why he is valued over 2 first-round draft picks, because both of those guys will be first-round draft picks. He set a single-game OSU record for receptions and receiving yards, and he has also set Ohio State single-season records with receptions at 95 and now receiving yards at 1,606 this year. He's just really quick, a twitchy receiver that can do a lot of things. Just very complete overall. Like we said, 15 catches for 347, 3 touchdowns, ridiculous. But the young freshman Marvin Harrison, 6 catches, 71 yards, 3 touchdowns. As you said, half them catches are touchdowns. Beautiful, young, talented receiver. His father, you're a Colts fan. You've seen Marvin Harrison and what he does. This is man 6'4" out there going and getting balls, run smooth, clean routes. Excited to see what he does. Excited also about Emeka Agupa. I always pronounce his name wrong. Ohio State fans, you know what I'm talking about. 3 receptions, 46 yards. Julian Fleming also had 5 catches for 35 yards. Travion Henderson, they didn't need him a lot. When they did need him, he stepped up. 17 carries, 83 yards. Like we said, though, once Rising went down this game, it completely turned. Bryson Barnes, the freshman, could not get it done. 2 passes, 23 yards, 1 touchdown, though. By that time, the Ohio State defense had momentum, had figured out how to defend these guys, and Tavion Thomas, the running back, he had 18 carries, 67 yards, and 1 touchdown. He announced he's returning to school for next year after this game. Excited to see what he can do because he's a big, bruising downhill runner. He kind of runs like Marshawn Lynch, just straight downhill at your face. And like we said early on, he just attacked the middle of this defense. Ohio State, though, they stepped up. It was a wild stretch. There was 5 touchdowns in 2 minutes and 43 seconds of game action. It was wild. It was hectic. It was one of the most memorable Rose Bowls that I can remember. And it's just such a shame that Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Haskell Garrett, some of these guys opted out and missed this game. A Utah player like Devin Lloyd, star linebacker, returned to school last year to come back this year. He had no question of opting out. He played in this bowl game, looked very, very good in the middle of that defense, possibly boosted his draft stock. Some games do, some games don't. Very impressed by this Utah team, though, in the fight they put up. Credit to Ohio State, though. 17 points there in the second half. They held Utah to 10, fought back, won this game. What did you see overall? Because as an Ohio State fan, you watched this game closely.
Yeah, I just wish that, like you said, it's a shame that Wilson and Olave weren't out there, because if Stroud was dealing 570 yards to Marvin Harrison Jr. and Smith Najigba, what would he have done in this game against that Utah defense with Wilson and Olave? We don't know. But it tells a lot about Stroud going into next year, how he battles adversity, because not many times has Ohio State been down by 2-3 scores and having to dig themselves out before halftime or earlier. So playing flat is definitely something that the Buckeyes can't get themselves in a situation like that next year. But it was definitely a fun game to watch, how you could tell Utah was the better team that day, and just Ohio State had to come back the whole way. And like I said, it tells a lot about how Stroud deals with adversity as a college football quarterback, and as a coach, Ryan Day has to be happy about that performance.
Also, this just gives you a picture of what's going into next year. Without Wilson and Olave, you saw your offense. That is your offense right there next year. You have your receivers, you have your running back, you have your quarterback. You're losing maybe one or two linemen. Other than that, you're set on that side of the ball. Ryan Day can build around that now and build off this game. Those young receivers, they're going to have a lot of confidence going into this offseason with a lot of motivation after not making it to the college football playoff. Very excited. Credit to CJ Stroud. I was one of the ones that thought Quinn Ewers would take over at some time. He did not. Instead, he transferred back home to Texas. Thank you, by the way. Listen, he fought all year. He fought Quinn Ewers off. He fought off Jack Miller and fought off some other guys. They had a lot of talented guys in there, fought them off all year. Credit to CJ Stroud. He has turned himself into a very, very sought after NFL draft prospect for 2023.
Moving on to our next game, we have the Oklahoma State Cowboys. They beat Notre Dame Fighting Irish 37-35. Keener, lay out what you saw from the Irish and the Cowboys.
I've talked a lot on this show about Notre Dame this year. Me and you just went to a Notre Dame basketball game. I hate this fucking school. I hate it. I picked them to win this game because I just did not trust Spencer Sanders. I did not trust him protecting the football. That's the Oklahoma State quarterback. He did not have a turnover in this game, believe it or not. 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 371 yards through the air, 125 on the ground with 17 carries. He just torched his defense all day. They started out very, very hot. They were up 28-7. Believe it or not, Notre Dame, they've been in that position a lot, as they had been 79-0 when leading by 21 points. They blew this one. They are now 79-1. They give up a 3-touchdown lead. They are now 0-8 in New Year's Six bowls since the BCS and now the college football playoff era. They're 0-8. Anytime Notre Dame gets in a big spotlight, they just seem to choke and piss it away. And I don't know what it is about their team. Their defense just pissed away in the second half. I understand you're missing some guys like Kyle Hamilton on that side. You have a lot of talent. And Oklahoma State the whole year has been known for running the ball with Jalen Warren, who had 19 carries for 81 yards. They've been known to do that. No, they got beat through the air in this game because Oklahoma State was forced to pass and come back. Once again, you're down by 21. You can't just stick with the run. No, you actually have to pass the ball, throw the ball downfield, and come back. They did that. We talked about Sanders having 371 passing yards. 2 receivers over 100 yards in Brennan Presley and Tay Martin. Both 10 catches for them. Tay Martin had 3 touchdowns on the day. The offense stepped up. We've talked about their defense all year, though. They've led the nation in sacks. They had a lot of guys, Malcolm Rodriguez and Devin Harper. They're the senior leaders on this team. 11 and 10 tackles, respectively, for them. They stepped up, went out on a winning note. Mike Gundy had this squad prepared. Marcus Freeman, the first-year Notre Dame head coach. Can't blame him much. This is not his squad. He did not recruit these guys. He played with what he had, played to the best of his ability. They fought in this game as Jack Cohn had 509 passing yards. But when you say that's 38 of 68, that's not very good on the day. Like we said, they had a big lead. Only 7 second-half points there to the Cowboys 23. It's not going to cut it. Notre Dame, I think you proved yourself. I don't really think you belong in these games anymore. You don't play in a conference. Your guys never really translate to the NFL level. Like, really try to tell me which guys do. They have linemen. Other than that, they have a few tight ends and Chase Claypool, Will Fuller. Like, you guys don't have a lot. I just don't like Notre Dame, but it's personally because they never show up in the games they are expected to. I don't think I'm the only one that feels this way. I don't know how you feel, but every time Notre Dame is in a big game, big moment, they choke and piss it away, and they just take up other team spots at this point. It's sick, man.
Moving on to the next game that Oklahoma State actually beat they beat Baylor, but Baylor ended up holding their own this game and knocking out Ole Miss. Matt Corral went down early with an injury, and we can kind of discuss that a little bit, our personal feelings on it. Everyone thought that that's why people should opt out of games, is because Matt Corral is a high stout quarterback going into the draft this year, and he decided not to opt out and to fight with his Rebel crew, and they lost, and he got injured early in the game. So how do you feel about college athletes like Pickett opting out of his game and being there? And Corral ended up playing, and we both share the same, side, and we respect it. So talk about how Corral's injury might affect his draft stock, and talk about athletes opting out of these bowl games.
Yeah, this is honestly dating back. This is 5, 6, 7 years now. Christian McCaffrey is the one that essentially started all this, and we need to go back and talk about that. He opted out of a bowl game that didn't mean a lot to their program. He opted out and was healthy, ended up being a top 10 pick. They also had another sought-after pro prospect, though, on the defensive line. Not many had heard of him, though. Solomon Thomas, at the time, put his name out there, had a big, big bowl game. That pushed him up into the top 3 of the draft to the San Francisco 49ers. It can go either way. At the end of the day, the scouting departments, it doesn't matter. This game really has no effect. At that point, you've already put on film what you're going to put on film, and your body of work is out there. Your measurables are what they are. At this point, one game, it can have an effect if it's a big time opponent like this. This Baylor defense, they've been good and solid all year. Caused just a lot of fits to a lot of people. That's just what Dave Aranda's done. Corral wanted to play in this game. He wanted to fight with his brothers. Ole Miss is a team that's been around for a while, clearly. They've been decent for a while, for our lifetime. They'd never been in double-digit wins. They'd never reached 10 wins in their program. Matt Corral and Lane Kiffin led this team to that. They led the team to this. Essentially, those two. Like, I've watched a lot of their games. Yeah, they have talent at the running back position, a few at running back, a few transfer linebackers. This is not the most talented squad. Lane has not put his stamp on this team. Matt Corral wanted to play. He was 2 of 6 up to that point. There was a lot of batted balls, and you could tell he had a long scramble of, 17 yards, 15 yards, 17 yards on the day. He was just getting comfortable, starting to use his legs, and then he gets hurt. And it's something unfortunate. He got here 2:13 left in the first quarter. After it sucks. It does. After it, they threw an interception. Luke Altmaier did. Tip ball went 96 yards after it. 7-0 ball game. Not a lot was the same after that. Baylor added on 14 points in the fourth quarter there. Other than that, this was a really dry ball game. Altmaier did throw the touchdown pass to Braylon Sanders. It just sucks because I wanted to see Matt Corral in this game. Huge fan of his for the draft process. And based off the draft process, based off of all year, this guy's either going to be QB1 or QB2. Kenny Pickett's earned the right to be up there with the stats he's put out this year. This guy's better than Sam Howell, who I'm very high on, better than Malik Willis, who a lot of scouts are high on, and Carson Strong, Desmond Ritter. This is going to be called all right draft class at quarterback. This kid right here, he's put a lot out on tape, the senior. He came back for one more game, wanted to put out a little bit more. I think he's going to be a top 10 pick. Just sucks he couldn't finish it off the right way. He came out right after he got hurt on crutches, just teary-eyed. It sucks he couldn't end that way. But we'll talk about what happens when you do play or don't play. That's Kenny Pickett. And they won or lost their game to Michigan State 31-21. It just felt really, really weird that Kenny Pickett could be there and be up in the press box with the coaches calling plays and doing all that shit. But at the end of the day, couldn't go out there and be with his brothers. Sure.
When they first started opting out of this process, Leonard Fournette, Christian McCaffrey did, they would put in their statement, not attending bowl game or not playing bowl game to focus on NFL future.
Yeah, it's to forego the bowl game to focus on the NFL draft.
Yes,
that's what I always say.
That has always been the thing is, once you and that's another thing that's weird about this whole Pickett thing is like people who did opt out, Wilson, Olave. This year's class is going to the bowl games. Wilson and Olave, or I don't know if Wilson was, but Olave was at that bowl game.
Olave was, yeah.
Olave was, and Wilson wasn't. And that's the weird is I think when we're going into this new generation of players, and Kirk Herbstreit and all these ESPN guys, of course they're gonna say, these players don't love football and badmouth opting out because ESPN pays these reporters to look dumb for their company. And I don't necessarily agree with all their takes, but I don't agree with you opting out of the bowl game in whatever personal decision but not focusing on the NFL and being there for those guys still. Like, I feel like if you're opting out of the bowl game, that's your send off. That's your goodbye to the university. It was just very weird to see Pickett trying to contribute to his team when he's fully capable of being on the field, performing at a high level, Heisman finalist, and still ultimately losing a bowl game to Michigan State 31-21, and Kenny Pickett's not quarterback in this class that's a number 1, 2, or 3 pick. So you always have room to improve your draft stock. That's another thing that I'd never understood is these bowl games, like you said, situations where let's say Kenny Pickett throws 5 tutties and 350 yards in this bowl game. Don't you think he's going to move up a couple more spots? And more spots means more money. So that's just my personal side piece. Sorry to cut you off, but that's just my
No, you're completely right. And to your point, we've seen Michigan State be torched by the pass so many times this year. When this matchup came out, I turned to you on the couch and I'm like, this is going to be a blowout. Pickett's going to literally pass all over them. He might have 600. And then he just opts out. Sure, everyone can say, oh, they're terrible against the pass. Why would you play? Everyone at the end of the day looks at fucking stats, and that's all they care about. You could have had some big stats in this game. Instead, you have 170 yards passing for your offense, 104 rushing yards for your offense, and you lose the game. I just did not feel that way about it. I mean, also, it can't be forgotten about Kenneth Walker, the Michigan State running back, also opted out of this game. I think we can say running back is a complete overall different position because that's just another game of tread on the tires and that NFL teams don't want. They value them so low. The quarterback position, yeah, I understand Matt Corral just got rolled up on in that. You feel pretty safe back in that pocket at the end of the day. You should. And like I said to you, you can tear any muscle, break any bone, doing anything on any given day, whether that's walking out the door, whether that's training at the workout facility. I've seen Deshaun Watson, one of my favorite NFL players, when he came in with Houston Texans, he tore his ACL early on a non-contact injury, just a rollout. It can happen on any play, man. I don't get why this one game you're just like, I don't want to play it. If that's the case and you go into the NFL, are you going to be afraid? Like, I don't know. Clearly, I'm not the one going out there playing. It's not the money for me.
This year, there's a bunch of teams right now playing this Week 7 or Week 18 games that we're about to talk about that aren't playing for anything. There's actually plus 20 teams that aren't playing for anything right now. Are you going to opt out of that game? No. I mean, why all of a sudden your last college career football game, you opt out? It makes no sense. Now, if we're in these situations like a Joe Burrow or Trevor Lawrence, and you're the solidified top 3, top 5 pick, and you're playing a meaningless bowl game, then we can start talking. But I mean, any of the names that we've listed are in the college football playoff playing a meaningful game, and the rest have so much room to improve their draft stock. That's something I don't get is you're ultimately, you might be saving money because of freak injury, but you're also costing yourself money because Pickett could bump his draft stock up. Kenneth Walker can make himself one of the most looked at running backs when GMs and owners look at guys that they need in their backfield. I mean, I think it's just stupid, but that's my opinion.
No, I think we both agree on that. To go off what Kirk Herbstreit and that said, they're old guys. Listen, you overreacted to it. It's just their personal opinion. Everyone says it on every day, and they got scrutinized so hard for it. At the end of the day, Corral went out and got hurt. Pickett opted out. Clearly, he's safe. It can happen at any time, though. You can get injured. It sucks, though. Basically, those are it for all of those bowl games. We have one more left on the year. And we'll get into that, talking about the national championship, Alabama, Georgia, part 2. And yeah, this first game they played, it was 41-24. And Alabama put the hurting on them, and they put the hurting on Georgia's feelings. Like we said, they came out against Michigan. They were pissed off on defense.
I just got this layout right now. Yeah, over a month ago, or just about a month ago, Alabama dog walked Georgia. And now that the line's come out this week, the game's going to be played Monday, and Georgia opens up as a 2.5-point favorite, which I am still like, I don't know. It's just one of those things that we talk about and something that we look at, and I'm so confused about it. Like I still am sitting here, and as I'm writing, prepping for this, I am still so confused about it. The over-under opens up as 52, and the percentage of winning, Georgia has a 58.4% winning, and Bama has a 41% point winning. They're both 13-1. Alabama is number 1 ranked, and Georgia is number 3. Or no, Georgia is number 1 ranked, and Alabama is number 3 ranked, or whatever it is. They're one. Yeah.
It's 1 versus 3.
Yep. It's 1 versus 3. Georgia averages 39 points per game. Some of these stats are very close, which is shocking to me. I thought that Bama had the lead on all these stats. Georgia averages 39 points per game, and Alabama averages 41. Georgia records 448 yards, 448 yards per game, and Bama averages 494 yards. Alabama allows 50 more yards than Georgia does, which is, I was shocked, but then we've always talked about Georgia's defense and how stout it is, and that their team goes as long as this. This is the only stat that really has that big of a difference. Georgia only allows 9.5 points per game, and Alabama allows over 20, which is shocking, but I mean, Bama also plays at a much faster tempo than Georgia does, which I think that argument says a lot for, those numbers, is that Bama plays at a very fast pace, and Bama's quarterback's just that much better. I mean, as simple as that. You got Bryce Young. It's very hard for me to go against the Heisman, the best quarterback in the nation, one of the best. I mean, it's not like Bama's a dog shit defense. Like, this is the second best defense probably in the nation. So what is your opinion about this? And tell me who you think is going to win.
Yeah, you talked about Georgia being the favorite. Listen, it's Vegas. They also predicted the game to be over under 52. And like we just said, Alabama themselves last time scored 41 points. So they expect this to be a more low scoring game. I don't know. I'm curious to see. I'm looking forward to this game. I was looking forward to it the first time. I thought Georgia would put up more than a fight, and they didn't. That was just Bryce Young being Bryce Young, and Bryce Young, the Heisman, is ridiculous. Georgia is crazy. They've only surrendered 6.9 points during the regular season. Once again, giving up 41 to them. Their average is still only 9.5 on the year. It's just wild what Bryce Young did to that offense the first time. 536 yards on the day. He also pulled out his legs. He had 40 yards rushing and a touchdown. I want to see him get out of the pocket more, use those legs. He can be very, very enticing at this next level doing that. We've seen what Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, so many names can do. Jalen Hurts with their running game. It opens up an offense completely. I'd love to see Bryce Young get out more and use his legs. This veteran secondary has got to step up for Georgia. It's as simple as that. These guys are seniors and juniors. Darion Kendrick, I love Clemson. He came from Clemson. He's played in a lot of college football playoff games. He's a senior. Amari Speed, you'll see he's the other starting corner, redshirt senior. William Poole, he's a senior. Lewis Klein, he's a junior. These guys, they got to step up. But as we said last week in the Cincinnati-Alabama game, to have a good secondary and to lock up, you have to get pass rush. They both have to work in unison. You can't have one without the other. Trevon Walker, Robert Beal, along with Jordan Davis, those boys got to step up. Nakobe Dean, those guys all have 5 sacks on the year. They have to get pressure. I'd love to see stunts, blitzes, anything. You just cannot let Bryce Young sit back in that pocket, or he's just going to dink and dunk, and then you're going to come up just one time. Williams has gone over the top on you. Not a thing you can do about it. Speaking of Jameson Williams, This was the question in the last game. Who's going to step up now that John Mechie's out? They did not have to pass the ball against Cincinnati. They ran the ball. All right, cool. This game, you're going to have to pass the ball. Georgia's defense clearly stout. You got to pass the ball. Jameson Williams, clear cut, one of the best draft prospects in here. John Mechie was also a low end 1, high 2 projected prospect. Without him, this offense changes a lot. He had 6 catches for 97 yards, 1 touchdown before tearing his ACL against Georgia. Ja'Cory Brooks stepped up in the game after that. He had 1 catch for 9 yards. After that, against Cincinnati, he had 7 targets, 4 catches, 66 yards, and 1 touchdown. He stepped up. He led that team in receiving that game. As we said, Kobe and Sauce Gardner, they put the pressure on Jameson Williams. Would love to see Ja'Cory Brooks step up again. He's a very talented freshman. It's also the veterans, though. You have Slade Bolden in the slot. You also have Jahleel Billingsley and Cameron Latu. They're the tight ends. These receivers, they got to create separation down the field. And just practice reps with your quarterback should have helped. These guys, they've not been working with Bryce Young all year. These young freshmen, Ja'Cory Brooks, Ajeel Hall. Yeah, just giving more practice time with your quarterback. These are young receivers that haven't had a lot of work. They are talented, though, 4 and 5 stars. Curious to see how they step up. Georgia's offense, clearly you have to score points to stick with this Alabama offense. This run game from them is going to be key. Zamir White, the leader of this squad, 147 carries, 772 yards, 10 touchdowns on the year. Dalvin Cook's younger brother, James, 170 yards, or 107 carries, 651 yards, 7 touchdowns. Also have Kenny McIntosh, the young man, 322 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns. Stetson Bennett, when he needs to, can use his legs. He has 48 rushes, 283 yards, and a touchdown. He can get out of the pocket and move with his legs, kind of like a Baker Mayfield, if that's a comparison you want to use. The kid needs to let it fly this weekend. We talked about the run game, the pass game, scoring points. You have to push the ball down the field. Stetson Bennett has 2,635 passing yards, 27 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions on the year. He has the 4th best quarterback rating in the country at 178. Bryce Young has 174. So Stetson Bennett is very efficient at the end of the day, not as talented, clearly. Very efficient, though. And this could be most likely one of his last games starting. It's just as simple as that. If you look at it, there's transfers looking at their program like Caleb Williams. I'm sorry if Caleb Williams comes in, you're going to the bench. It's as simple as that. There's other names that have not entered yet. But they also have a talented 5-star freshman there. He was the QB4 in the 2021 class behind Quinn Ewers, Caleb Williams, and Sam Hurd of Washington. This is a big, talented guy that was Georgia's Mr. Football. He came to the state for a reason. I don't think the guy's just going to want to sit the bench. He redshirted this year. They expected to go with JT Daniels to start the year. Instead, they go with Stetson Bennett to close this thing out. He's not giving up the job. Got to get the ball to his playmakers. Brock Bowers is a freshman tight end, going to be probably a first-round pick when he comes out. The dude already has 12 touchdowns this year. Their leading receiver at 846 yards and 52 catches. Other than that, you have Jermaine Burton. He's a big downfield threat. He has 5 touchdowns on 469 yards. George Pickens, we talked about him last week. The dude did not play this year. Still most likely going to be a 1st or 2nd round pick. He only has 4 catches for 56 yards on the year. Get the boy the ball. If not, you got to get the ball to Adonai Mitchell. He's a 6'4" freshman, 3 touchdowns on the year. Just push the ball down the field. Be aggressive in this one, Stetson Bennett. What do you have to lose? Like, ultimately, you've already lost to this team once. People, not Vegas, but they're expecting you to lose again. They're not expecting you to be the starter next year. This is one of your last chances. Go out, push the ball downfield. This Alabama secondary, listen, they're not the best. Brian Branch has 9 pass breakups. Josh Jobe has 2 interceptions, 4 pass breakups. They got a young man, Kool-Aid McKinstry. He's getting time in the slot now, the 5-star. Just a few spots below Brock Vandergaard in that ranking. last year for recruiting. They're not the most solid group. You can push the ball downfield on this unit in that secondary. Jordan Battles in the middle. Just push the ball downfield. What do you got to lose? The only unit I would avoid is the linebackers for Georgia. Also, the linebackers from Bama. The last thing we're going to talk about, the linebacking play. Nakobe Dean and Will Anderson, most likely the two top linebackers in the nation. We talked about Devin Lloyd from Utah, but these boys are legit. Will Anderson should have been at the Heisman. 97 tackles on the year, an FBS record for tackles for losses at 32.5. He also has 17.5 sacks on the year. Nakobe Dean, no slouch himself, mocked in many first-round drafts this year. Will Anderson can't go. He's only a sophomore. Nakobe Dean, linebacker, one in this draft class, though. 68 tackles, 6 sacks, 8.5 TFLs. He gets out and defends the pass more, as he has 2 interceptions and 5 passes defended. Georgia also has Quay Walker, Nolan Smith, and Channing Tyndale. They all have over 50 tackles. Alabama, I mean, other than Will Anderson, you have Toto there. He has 105 tackles on the year. This is linebacking core is very good. This is just what you expect from the SEC defenses. And I'm going to make my pick here. If I'm going to go off of these linebacking cores and what's going to step up, I don't expect anything to change, man. Will Anderson is Will Anderson. Henry Toa, like we said, 105 tackles. These boys are in the middle of that defense. They're going to be getting gaps all day, getting downhill. I know that Georgia offensive line got some pushes and got some just running lanes against Michigan. This Alabama team, listen, they're physical SEC guys just like you. They've already played you once. They understand what you're going to do. Most running teams, listen, you have about 10, 11 set plays. Other than that, man, they're most of the same. You have the play actions off of them. I like Alabama in this game. I like Bryce Young. I like Jamison Williams going out one last time in his college career, but I also like Ja'Cory Brooks stepping up in the slot. Darian Kendricks, I would expect to get an interception as he had 2 against Michigan. I just don't see how you can win. Stetson Bennett's efficient at the end of the day. I'm not going to pick him to win a big game. I'm not picking him to win my national title. It's just that simple.
Yeah, I got Bama too in this game, and I said it earlier, I'm almost shocked, or not almost, I am shocked that Bama goes into this game as an underdog. So do you think it's something that Vegas knows that we don't, or do you think they're just wrong?
They could possibly make some money off of this. I don't know. It's Vegas being Vegas, but they're right on a lot of their lines, and it's scary how right they can be. But they've also been wrong on a lot. There tends to be a lot of blowouts that they can't predict. I'm not saying this is going to be a blowout. I expect this to be a hard-fought game. Less possessions. You're going to need efficiency. Like I said, Stetson Bennett's efficient. There's a guy on the other side that won the Heisman. Most likely the 2023 first pick off the board, franchise quarterback. I'm going to go with the quarterback in a big game. But listen, we've talked about what Alabama receivers do in the big moment. Talked about what Jackson Smith and Jigma did earlier. Devontae Smith had a big game last year, pushed him up in the draft, pushed him up into the top 10, top 12 area. Jamison Williams has been mocked around that area, but you'll see times Garrett Wilson and Treylon Burks will go over him. Jamison Williams can put out an absolute showing and put on good display for the NFL scouts going into the draft, possibly push him up into that top 10. There's some needy teams that need wide receivers. They can wait. I would not wait on this young speedster. I want to see him have a very, very big game, and I think he will.
Moving on to our NFL Week 17 game reviews that we talk about the games that already have happened. We will start off with a stunner. The Cincinnati Bengals beat the Kansas City Chiefs last second place. So, Keener, talk about that.
I mean, there's not a lot to talk about simply other than Jamar Chase. The guy was a first-round pick for a reason. He was a top 5 pick for a reason, and they drafted him over a offensive lineman for a reason. On the day he had, it's crazy. 11 catches, 266 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He had a long touchdown pass or reception of 72. In the draft process, listen, LSU receivers are what they are. I didn't think he had a trait that stuck out. It just turns out the dude's good at everything. Let's not just put this out there, though. Joe Burrow forces the guy the ball a lot. I understand you want to force your playmakers the ball, but come on, dude. Like, some of the times he doesn't even get through his progressions to the other side of the defense. And it's crazy. They came back in this game and won. Kansas City, they were up 28-17 at the halftime. Only 3 points in that second half to finish with 31 on the game. I ain't got much to say other than simply Ja'Marr Chase. He now has the Bengals franchise rookie record with touchdown catches at 13, receptions at 79, also with the yards he has this year. And he's their first receiver to have 5 100-yard games. He's 45 yards away from breaking the rookie receiving yard record, which was set in 1960. Needs 45 yards as he sits at 1,429. Burrow, he's on a tear, though. Against the Ravens, he had 525 yards, 446 in this game. He's the first quarterback to have 400 passing yards, 4 interceptions, or 4 touchdowns and 0 interceptions in a 2-game stretch. I don't know, man. Kansas City, they had a 3-and-out the first drive of the game. They then proceeded to score on 4 straight possessions. Like we said, they had a 28-17 lead going into halftime. That Bengals defense in the second half, completely different unit. They looked possessed. Patrick Mahomes only 112 yards. They had 23 plays, 3 points. Not very good for this high-powered offense. And this Cincinnati defense is not the best unit, but a veteran secondary of Jesse Bates, Von Bell, Mike Hilton, and Chidobe Azui, who locked down that secondary. He locked down the other receivers on the other side, which, I mean, it doesn't have to be stated. We know who they are. Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. Let me go off that. Oh, yeah, Tyreek Hill, 6 catches, 40 yards. Oh, man, Travis Kelce, 5 catches, 25 yards, and 1 touchdown. The Cincinnati defense did a very, very good job all day on these guys. And seeing how they shut down basically the best duo pass catching wise in the NFL, that could be scary for the NFL, as you're going to need teams like the Bills to pass. You even have the Titans will pass on you, the Patriots maybe, who knows. Teams are going to need to pass the football in the postseason. This Bengals team, they passed a very big test going up against Patrick Mahomes. 259 yards, 2 touchdowns on the day for him. Wasn't sacked any, so his line's giving him some time back there. They could just not win this game in the end. Credit to Joe Burrow. He's going to miss this next week as he got hurt there at the end. Brandon Allen came in and had to kneel. I thought they'd run the ball more. Joe Mixon only 46 yards. They won this game, though. I was shocked. Just someone please cover Ja'Marr Chase. It's not a request at this point. It's just, please, just fucking do it. I'm tired of him seeing breaking all these records. T. Higgins is very talented on the other side. You hold him below 50 yards in a game, it's just terror to him. I understand you have Ja'Marr Chase, Tyler Boyd. You got a talented group there. Chase has stepped up and clearly put himself at just above this draft class, above Devontae Smith and that. Credit to them. This team's very, very dangerous going into the postseason. To me, what'd you see?
Yeah, I mean, the Bengals are a team that I would look into the playoffs and fear, but they found a way to win the AFC North, which you have to give respect where respect is due. I do agree with you on the state where they almost don't want to prove themselves being wrong, picking Ja'Marr Chase over Penei Sewell, so they force feed him a lot his way. Ja'Marr Chase has impressed a lot of people and has exceeded preseason projections and predictions about how good he'd be in his rookie year. But I still just don't feel like Joe Burrow and Ja'Marr Chase are going to be the duo to scare everyone in the next 5, 6, 7 years. So like I said, this AFC North division is a very tough division. And you had 4 teams that we thought could have had a chance to win the playoffs or go into the playoffs. And a lot of preseason projections, I'd love to see our records on where we thought the Bengals were going to be, because I know we both didn't have the
Not
Bengals in
good.
the playoffs. And I almost say
Not
that
good.
we had them either third or fourth in the AFC North. So they exceeded.
I am fourth. I know that for a fact.
I think I have them fourth too. So they exceeded a lot of preseason expectations, but it's just not a team that scares me coming down the stretch. They don't have a lot of playoff experience as a team.
There's only one way to earn it. Credit to them. They're winning these games. They won that tough AFC North. Scary thing about Jamar Chase, the dude took off football last year. Let's just be real. Like, the dude took off football last year, is doing these things this year. We've seen the jump from Justin Jefferson, I think, was possible from year 1 to year 2. What this guy have could be scary, but yeah, the way they're talking about this duo is just the king shit. Oh, all of a sudden Joe Burrow is better than Justin Herbert. The media just puts out so many narratives and they change after one game so quick. Listen, they had a big game. The Kansas City defense at the end of the day is cheeks in that back end. They don't apply a pass rush. Like, listen, that Bengals offensive line's not good. The Chiefs did not get pressure. They won the game, though. We're admitting that we were wrong on them. I love this. I love the offense they have on this team, the weapons other than Chase. Kid's talented, just not a personal fan. Love me some guys like Devontae Smith, Shotty B. He's outclassed them in this draft for sure. What about the next game?
Yeah, talking about another AFC North team, we have the Rams beat the Ravens 20-19. Ravens are officially out of playoff contention with them losing and the Cincinnati Bengals winning. And it was a week that shook up the AFC North for sure. And who was yours, or what was your shock in this game, or what came out popping to you off the stat sheet, or whether it was the gameplay?
I mean, just Baltimore. There was the talk that, Tyler Huntley can be some franchise quarterback. Listen, I'm not high on Lamar, but be realistic. Temper your expectations, please. It's not a lot to ask. The guy was Tyler Huntley. Listen, he's not bad. 20 of 32, 197, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. He was also sacked 5 times. And for as good of legs as he had, only 54 yards on the ground. It's not going to lead this offense. It's not going to get it done against this Rams team. It started off, though, with Matthew Stafford throwing a pick 6. He's forced a lot of passes this year at dumb times. You can take Matthew Stafford out of Detroit, but you can't take the Detroit out of Matthew Stafford. Threw another pick on the day. 309 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I mean, at the end of the day, he's putting up stats. They're moving along, but they're squeaking by against some teams. And, I mean, I'm not really scared of this team one bit. Currently, with this game that we're talking about, this game, I was not scared. Sony Michel, 19 carries, 74 yards, and 1 touchdown. He'll have some competition coming into that backfield we talked about next week. But listen, this defense, I'm not too scared of. I mean, Jalen Ramsey will lock down your number 1 receiver for sure, as Marquise Brown, 3 catches, 28 yards on the day. Rashad Bateman, amazing. He finally gets some targets, as he had 7 receptions, 58 yards on the day. To be second on your team, get the guy the ball more, man. You need someone else in your offense other than Mark Andrews and Marquise Brown. This is the guy. You drafted him in the fucking first round for a reason. You had 2 first-round picks. Yeah, right? You took Bateman with the first one and then took your edge rusher with the second. So wouldn't you say this is the guy they had high on their board? Get him involved, man. The dude's talented. Whether it's Lamar throwing to him next year or franchise Tyler Huntley, I don't know. But listen, the dude is just temper your expectations on him. At the end of the day, it is what it is. Tyler Huntley's Tyler Huntley. Lamar Jackson's Lamar Jackson. You can tell this team has missed him, but Lamar's not the only injury this team has. Stafford, 309 yards against the secondary without Marcus Peters, without Marlon Humphreys. Congratulations. That's the top cornerback duo in the league. I'd expect more out of this team in that game. They fought the Rams to 13 points in the fourth quarter to win this game. They win it ugly sometimes, but they get the job done, like the other game we'll talk about next.
Yeah, moving on to our next game, we have your Arizona Cardinals squeak the close one out against the Dallas Cowboys, which could be a preview for our playoff picture leading down the road that we will talk about. But talk to us. How'd your Cardinals win this game? Why was it so close?
For weeks, I've talked about, oh, they're not physical up front. They're just pussies off the ball. They got to get a push. This game, they came out. You could tell they acted different. They looked different. Part of that is your quarterback going back to his hometown. Kyler Murray grew up 50 miles down the road from AT&T Stadium. He's now 8-0 in this stadium, as you well know. He feels comfortable at home, and he just has a personal swagger to him that just wears off on this whole team. The defense was pumped up from the start, and that's why they won this game. I love my offense. The defense is why they've done a lot of big things this year. Dallas was 3 of 11 on third down. They also forced them into 10 penalties for 88 yards. 3 fumbles. They only lost 1, but this Dallas team was really sloppy. Over these past few weeks, we've seen them not be on top of their game on offense. The defense had helped them in a lot of games against a lot of bad quarterbacks. Well, guess what? Kyler Murray's not Mike Glennon. He's not Taylor Heineke. He's not those guys that you were beating. Kyler Murray was an MVP candidate. He came out in this game, and he showed you why. Dallas had a chance at the end of this game. They did. Arizona got the ball back with 4 minutes, 40 seconds left. They were up 3. Dallas had 2 timeouts. I said 4 minutes and 40 seconds. Dallas never touched the ball the rest of the game. Kyler Murray drove them down the field, got them down there. Dallas ran out of timeouts. They could not challenge what would have been a fumble. Clearly, listen, Chase Edmonds fumbled that ball. You got to have a timeout though to challenge it. You did not. Cost you the game. After that, Murray scrambles for a first down. After that, it's ball game. Like we said, from the other 20-yard line to the other 20, scrambled a few times. He stepped up in this game overall, though, as he had 263 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns. His ankle is finally healthy, and it's finally exciting to see him get out of the pocket and work his magic. 9 carries for 44 yards. Like we talked about, to end this game, there'll be a lot of times where most teams will just run a simple halfback dive, and when that quarterback goes back and sticks the ball in the pocket, Kyler will do a little fake and then just trot off around the end, and you can't stop him. Simple things he can do with the ball that other quarterbacks can't. I'm excited the way this team bounced back. Chase Edmonds, James Conner was out, 18 carries, 53 yards on the day. Not the best showing from him, but against this Dallas defense that had been stepping up, they did very, very good, as did my offensive line. Listen, thank you for protecting my quarterback. I've asked for it for 3 years. You protect him, but it's only when you have one person in the lineup, and that is Mr. Rodney Hudson. Listen, the guy's an all-pro center, but they are 9-2 with him. Clearly, in the other games, they've lost. They lost to Green Bay, they lost to the Rams, and they lost to Carolina without him. They also lost to Indianapolis without him. 8 of the 13 fumbles Kyler Murray has had, those are not all lost, but they've fallen out of his hands. 8 of those 13 have come without Rodney Hudson back there, whether those are bad snaps, just anything. My quarterback protects the ball more with you back there. And on the year, Pro Football Focus has him ranked as the number 3 center. He has 1 penalty and 1 sack in 721 snaps on the year. For whatever reason, the whole offensive line just feels a comfort when he's up there. They're more disciplined with less penalties. They protect the quarterback better, and they just have a tenacity to them to get downhill. That Dallas defensive line of DeMarcus Lawrence, Randy Gregory, Micah Parsons, Neville Gallimore, boys up front are solid. They've done a lot of things to a lot of offenses this year. Our offensive line stepped up, only got our quarterback sacked once, and I definitely appreciate that. Thank you guys so much for that. And thank you to the defensive line for making Dak Prescott's life hell. 24 of 38, 226, 3 touchdowns. He was only sacked once, but he got forced out of that pocket a lot, forced into a lot of quick decisions that I don't think he wanted to really be forced into. Michael Gallup, he had the touchdown on the day, tore his ACL. Shame for him going into free agency, a shame for this Cowboys team in the end. Ezekiel Elliott, though, your franchise running back, 9 carries, 16 yards. You know how I feel about him if you listen to the pod. He's got this big bulky knee brace on now. He's not getting anything going. This Cardinals offense, this defensive line has looked dog shit for a number of weeks. Of all teams against the Cowboys, they come out. Now they got some momentum to carry this over. Thank you for shutting down Zeke. Like we said, 16 yards on 9 carries is not getting it done for a guy getting $14, $15 million a year. My Cardinals, they came out, stepped up in this game. You've watched a lot of Cardinals games this year. You've seen their struggles the last few weeks. What was different for you?
The Cardinals just came out and played a complete game. You know, in the first half, they were lacking, which I was scared of watching for them. I was like, you know, they came out flat, which they do a lot. In a lot of games, they come out flat. And it was just it's just this Cowboys defense is very intimidating, and you have intimidating players like Micah Parsons. And it was just, I was curious on how Cardinals were going to move the ball up and down the field without DeAndre Hopkins, you know, really being significantly out, no snaps. So it was interesting, but Kyler found a way to get it done and really put the chirpers to rest. You know what I mean? A lot of people have been barking back at the Cardinals, saying stuff. They were on that little losing streak, and Kyler kind of silenced them for a second.
Yeah, you're talking about DeAndre Hopkins being out. With DeAndre Hopkins being out, the young man that stepped up was Anton Wesley. Jeez. He's a young man from Texas Tech. Cliff Kingsbury is familiar with him. Most importantly, he's familiar with this offense. And as weirdly as it sounds, you have this guy essentially almost replacing DeAndre Hopkins. He plays a lot strictly on that X receiver on that left side in this offense because that's the role he played in it. I've had a lot of negative things to say about Cliff Kingsbury. It's something you mentioned. They've had a lot of heat. I've given him a lot of heat. I even put him on our list of potentially being fired at the end of the year because we've seen his late season struggles. He had a game plan. He came out. He stuck to it. They had 13 points at halftime. They had that lead, and they held it down. Granted, Dallas had 15 points there in the fourth quarter. Defense did its job. Offense did its job. You had your main goal and objective to win this game, give you a lot easier chance next week against Seattle. Cliff, Cardinals, Kyler, thank you for winning this game. I was tired of losing.
Moving on to our next game, we have the Steelers playing the Browns, and they won by a 2-score ball game, 26-19. Or wait, was it 19?
26 to 14.
14. I drew through the number. So 26-14. Yeah, it was a 2-score game. Big Ben's last game against Cleveland, probably more than likely comes out with a win. He had the celebratory thing after all the media buzz. And I'm happy because I think I respect any quarterback that controls. Even Big Ben stayed with Pittsburgh throughout his whole career. And I respect any quarterback that is able to stay in this league for as long as Big Ben does. Future Hall of Famer, Super Bowl champ. I give my flowers to Big Ben, even though he's not one of my favorite quarterbacks. I still respect his game. Keener, take us through this game.
Yep, this is just Big Ben being Big Ben and doing what he's always done for the Pittsburgh Steelers to the Cleveland Browns, and that's simply just dominate them. This kid's from Ohio. He played at Miami of Ohio, and the Browns had the right to draft him in the draft he was in, and they chose Kellen Winslow. Some other names in that draft, we talked about Eli Manning and Phillip Rivers. This guy outlasted them guys, believe it or not. He looked like a statue back there in that pocket, but man, it was emotional to see the crowd. And as we've talked about before, how can you not be emotional about football? The crowd showed up and gave them some extra special juice on a Monday night. Big Ben finished his career versus Cleveland in 28 starts. He is now 25-22 and 1 tie. He is also 13-0 against them at home, and his 92 wins at Heinz Field is the third all-time at one field. Wild to see what he's done there, but we're not talking about the past. We're talking about this game. He threw the ball 46 times, and it's amazing they trusted him to do that. Only 123 yards on the day, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. He's up there in age, man. We know what he is. The line is not very good at all. Not apparently as bad as Cleveland's offensive line, though, that for whatever odd reason, they think that they can have a rookie 4th-round pick that played guard at Cincinnati block TJ Watt in one-on-one. It's as simple as that. I mean, TJ Watt is, if not the best pass rusher in this league, top 3, hands down. He's not out of anyone's top 3. And if he is, buddy, please check yourself. I'm not a Steelers fan. I hate this franchise, but you can like the talent they have. And this dude is a freak.
You cannot like a player and still respect their talents. And that's, I think that's what we're saying as both of us is I do not like Pittsburgh Steelers.
Even Big Ben. Yeah, even Big Ben. We don't like him. We respect him.
Yeah, I mean, when I was a young kid, my dad liked the Browns. I hated Big Ben. But you got to respect sometimes. I'm not the biggest Durant fan. I respect his game. You know, it's just some players in this league you don't have to like, but you can appreciate greatness when it's in front of your face.
I mean, I don't think you stumble into 21.5 sacks in 15 games on the year, because let's not forget he's also missed some time. He had 5 solo tackles in this game, 5 quarterback hits, 4 sacks. Yes, I said 4 sacks in one game, 3 tackles for loss, and also 2 passes defended that he blocked down at the line. He's now only behind Jared Allen and Justin Houston, who have 22 sacks. And, of course, the all-time sack leader, Michael Strahan, at 22.5. 1 sack away from this record. Now going against, next week, a good team we'll talk about. Listen, he gets 1 sack every 18 snaps. And, yeah, that's a pretty impressive rate. We'll go talk about Myles Garrett now, who, the Browns fans that are idiots. TJ Watt, not Myles Garrett. No. Yeah, he's simply better. It's exactly what you just said. One sack in 18 snaps. Myles Garrett gets 1 sack in every 35 snaps. That's double. 18 to 35. I mean, it's not exactly double, but 1 right there from being away. The dude's a freak. He plays linebacker also, so he can get out there, cover the passes. Strictly is an edge, though, in that 3-4. Got the Baker 4 times, but the defense overall for the Steelers got to him 9 times as he was sacked for 46 yards total in the game. I mean, it's time we start talking about this Baker Mayfield shit. We've talked about it a lot on here, but it's time that people start just being realistic. You can like your Browns. I understand. You can like your team. You have to be able to criticize your team. You have to be able to talk bad about them. If you've watched a football game with me with my teams, I talk so much crap. Every Browns fan still thinks Baker Mayfield shit don't stink. I'm sorry to tell you. His shit, it stinks. And it stinks pretty fucking bad. He leads the league in interceptions since he's got in. He threw 2 more in this game, blatantly forces passes down the field past underneath wide open receivers multiple times. It's not just this game. You go back and watch the tape that Odell Beckham's dad put out. Not his tape, but the one that he put out and got Odell out of Cleveland. A lot of those throws you see underneath guy open and he forces the ball downfield. It doesn't make sense. I don't understand what you're looking at. And he's not healthy. I get it. He's not healthy. We've discussed this multiple times. If you're not healthy, please don't go. You can fight all you want and you can be tough all you want, but you're not putting your team in successful positions to win. He cannot throw the ball down the field. Believe it or not, to throw a football, it doesn't require this. It requires this. It requires you stretching your arms and throwing. He has this fucked up. So let me think. This is restricted. I'm going to toss this back. He can't get the zip on the ball. He can't get the accuracy on the ball. And he has terrible decision-making, which has been known for years. Right now, it's the triple trifecta of you being a terrible quarterback and putting a team that is clearly the start of the year. We're going to go way back. Remember, multiple people said this Browns offense is a top 5, or not Browns offense, Browns team is top 5 overall in talent. And if it's not, you're smoking something and don't know football. Top 5 in talent. Why are they missing the fucking playoffs? I can strictly have one reason why. He plays quarterback and he wears number 6. I like him. I love Baker Mayfield. I have his jersey. I love them at Oklahoma. I watched him personally at Ohio State versus or at Ohio State playing Ohio State when he was at Oklahoma. I'm a fan of his. You can be a fan and tell a guy, listen, bro, you need to be better, and he needs to be better. I understand getting sacked 9 times is not easy. I understand leaving a rookie player that is that not just a day 1, not a day 2, a day 3 pick on the best pass rusher in the league. I get that's not on you, bro. What about the 2 interceptions? What about the multiple balls dropped at receivers' feet? Like, not dropped. I'm talking hit the ground at their feet. Multiple times this year it's happened. Oh, just wait till he gets healthy. Why? Why? What are we supposed to wait for when he gets healthy? He still has the same decision making. That's up here. That's right here. That's not in any other part of your fucking body. That's in these 2 that releases that ball. It's not good. It's terrible. And with a running team, with a good defense that wants to control the clock, this is not your quarterback. I hate to say it, Cleveland. Please, just put it through your head. You have to go make a move. So unless you get this guy for $17 to $20 million, which I don't think is possible, please get him out of the building. I'm tired of it as a Baker fan and a Browns fan and a football fan. This is a high-quality football team that should have won this conference. With the way the Ravens played, the Bengals the struggles at the start of the year, and the Steelers team, there should be no question who's in the AFC North for the playoffs. But we're not because of one guy. Sorry for the rant. I'm just tired of it. I'm over it. And I'm so happy that he's not playing for whatever reason in that last game. Don't get me started on that. So happy he's not playing. And if it's his last snap in Cleveland, loved you as a player, but man, you fucked up.
So I'll take the floor and give my opinion on Baker Mayfield because I think that this would be good to reflect on that. I, at one point, was a person who had mixed emotions about Baker Mayfield, and my final conclusion was at the beginning of this year, and I was a known throughout our group that I had my opinions about Baker Mayfield, and I always thought he was a good player, has a strong arm. The only thing I had concern with is what is your ceiling with Baker Mayfield taking snaps? I never thought he'd be a quarterback that would be able to win a playoff game. I got proved wrong. Won a playoff game against Pittsburgh. Coming to this year, I didn't know if he was going to be able to win the AFC North or not. I didn't know if the Browns were going to be able to win the AFC North or not, simply because I didn't know if Baker Mayfield was legit enough to take that step that he should have as an NFL quarterback from year 2 to 3. Take that step to be
3 to 4
or 3 to 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. His year 3 to year 4, I thought he should have taken a step to be able to at least compete for that division title, if not solely win it. You know, the Browns roster, everyone talked about Dan Orlovsky, put him as his Super Bowl champions. You had all this hype around you. You had all the buzz. And the only knock I have on Baker Mayfield right now, currently in the second half of the season, is, yeah, you can play however you want. You're hurt. People perform bad when they're not fully healthy. So when So when you perform like this, throw interceptions, whatever, we don't expect you to play 100% like the Oklahoma Sooner Baker Mayfield that we've seen, like the playoff win Baker Mayfield that we've seen, Baker, baby maker, whatever. When you look at the press conference and say, the media, and say, I am not doing whatever is in my best or whatever is in the team's best interest to win, then dude, don't put Casey Keenum back there. A healthy Casey Keenum is better than a banged up Mayfield. I will take a healthy 100% fully go Baker or Casey Keenum over a 65-70% Baker Mayfield 10 out of 10 times. That's just simple as that. I never thought Casey Keenum was that bad of a downgrade to Baker Mayfield that you really had to sit there and go, all right, we're going to play with our franchise quarterback, as everyone says, banged up, injured, one hit away from really having season-ending injury, if not literally hurting your future quarterback. that you're pushing it to that extent to not play Casey Keenum, a guy who has literally led a team to the NFC Championship game. It just doesn't make sense for me, but I'm all right with being missing
Talking
time to time.
talking about Case Keenum, there's a reason you paid your backup quarterback, and let me say backup. Clearly, we know Baker. I'm looking at his contract. They paid him 3 years, $18 million for a reason. Why? Well, he's a good football player that's in a run-first offense that protects the ball, gets the ball to his playmakers. The thing about Baker is, yeah, he's not healthy. Clearly, he's not protecting the ball. That's the thing. Is so many quarterbacks, they don't deflate their team. They help rise them up. Like we've talked about, let's just go to Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, even Patrick Mahomes at the start of this year. I'm going to toss that name in there for sure. When chaos is happening around you, the good quarterbacks in this league elevate their talent. They take it to a new level. They help them. I've watched Deshaun Watson a lot with no line, no receivers, and no running back. Dude still wins games. You have the best center guard combo the league might have ever seen, and you have it right now. I understand you're missing your tackles. You possibly have one of the best pure runners in the NFL in Nick Chubb. You have Kareem Hunt as well. You have Jarvis Landry. You have multiple picks at Donovan Peoples-Jones and Rashad Higgins and guys that you're the one that says you feel comfortable with, and you keep putting yourself in these positions to win the game. Whatever, dude. I think these Browns need to make a move this offseason. We'll talk about that later down the road. The last thing I got to say about this game, I forgot to mention it before. Najee Harris, man, the dude's the truth. 28 carries, 188 yards, 1 touchdown. He also had 3 catches for 18 yards. We saw him at Alabama, hurdle guys, do all that. Well, it's translating to the NFL. He's stiff-arming guys into the ground. He's running them over. And once that line gets some continuity and is able to get downhill and get blocks, this boy's going to be really dangerous because he's a problem, very physical runner. And this long run of 37 was his longest run of the season. 37 yards. He broke his longest run of the season. That's sad. This dude's a freak, though. Cleveland, get used to him for a long time because you got Nick Chubb. Well, this guy's no slouch himself. He's very good on the other side. He stepped up in this game. Big Ben, not at his best. Najee Harris, we know why they won this game. It was because of him. It was because of that defense. And ultimately, the bad health of Baker Mayfield. That's the conclusion I have. I don't know about you. Just happy that we're done watching this Browns team for the year, honestly, because there's been so much go wrong with it. They need a fresh start next year.
Now we're going to talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers played the New York Jets and squeaked out a victory, 28-24, actually. But do you want to review any of this game, or do you just want to get right down to it?
I mean, I want to talk a little bit about it because I believe Zach Wilson did some things.
Yeah. Zach Wilson performed better than a lot of other games this year. Honestly, he was hurt. He was banged up. You had the interceptions in the preseason. And Tom Brady had to go out and play a not good team, a conference rival, ex-conference rival that he had for years, ultimate success against. And honestly, Tom Brady struggled, And again, I almost want to say, is the end coming near? How many years can Tom Brady play? Or how good of a team does Tom Brady need around him? I just think that Tom Brady just needs to squeak again. I think Tom Brady's still a quarterback that I don't want to play on 2-minute drives, and that you could throw him whatever tight end and receivers and running backs you want. Tom Brady's still capable of winning a game. Example A, being the Jets. Talk about Zach Wilson and Tom Brady for a second.
Yeah, the Tampa Bay, they won this game 28-24. Talked about Brady being successful against this Jets team. He is 30-7 against them lifetime. You would imagine those 7 losses probably came early on, and then when they had Rex Ryan. This dude's had a lot of success against this team. Robert Saleh, he had a good defensive game plan, it seemed like. But, I mean, I guess it seems to be on Brady's receivers not being healthy early on in the game. We'll get into that. But, yeah, it's time to talk about Zach Wilson. a lot of these rookie quarterbacks this year have struggled. Trevor Lawrence, well, I love him. He struggled. Team around him, not very good. Justin Fields, he struggled. Team around him, not very good. Trey Lance, he hasn't had some time. He got some run this last week, looked really, really good. Mac Jones, we know what he is, but this is the one that people are, oh, he's the bust. He didn't deserve to be up there. Every quarterback's got to have every draft's got to have a quarterback that busts out. No, they really don't. And I'm sorry to say it, this is not the guy that's going to bust out. He, earlier on in the year, he was forcing a lot of throws. Yeah. He played at BYU. Clearly, just a bit of a downgrade. So he's forcing some throws, and everyone says, oh, you see what you can get away with. You see what throws you can make over top, see what guys can get underneath and pick off or whatever. He did that early on in the year. He injured his ankle, missed some games, came back in week 12, and since then he has played the Bucks, Dolphins, Saints, Eagles, and Jaguars. He has 2 interceptions and 182 pass attempts in those games. Once again, that's 4th best in the NFL in that time span behind Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, and Russell Wilson. So this guy's up there with the most efficient quarterbacks and efficient signal callers in the league in the Bucks, Dolphins, Saints, and Eagles. The Bucks are the only secondary you can say is not the best there, but we know what their pass rush is. Other than that, we named off some pretty solid secondaries. Darius Slay, Marshawn Lattimore, Xavier Howard, lockdown corners that are ball hawks. This guy only has 2 picks. It's impressive what he's doing. He's protecting the ball. 1 pick. I mean, no picks this game. 1 touchdown, 1 sack, 19 for 33 for 234. He's improving. And like we said, this is without his top 2 receivers as Corey Davis and Elijah Moore missed this game. He's throwing to Braxton Berrios, who had 8 catches, 65 yards, and a touchdown. And other than that, he's throwing to Keelan Cole, like guys like that clearly just aren't talented. He's not putting up the best of stats, but he's doing what you want to see a rookie do. That's progress, be smart, be efficient. Zach Wilson's doing it. We've not talked about his legs. He can use them too. Love his game. Guy's got a playground style that a lot of people will love. And as for the Ohio fans that are watching the show, oh, this is the guy that shouldn't be picked above Justin Fields. No, this kid was picked number 2 for a reason. NFL scouts evaluated it. He was drafted. I get they make mistakes. That's why Tom Brady fell to the 6th round. Yeah, they make mistakes. Brady in this game, 34 of 50, 410 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. He drove that team down that field for that 2-minute warning in less than a minute with no timeouts. It was some of the most impressive shit I've seen. Because like we said, he's not doing it with clearly Antonio Brown. Mike Evans didn't have really a target on that drive. The game-winning pass was to Cyril Grayson. Yeah, don't know who that is, do you? He's going to be a key part down this stretch as Antonio Brown's off the team. This Buccaneers team, they've had a lot of turmoil. Chris Godwin's out for the year with an ACL. Now you're without Antonio Brown. These tight ends and these other young receivers, they got to step up. Talk about that later. Time to talk about, though, the circus that left New York, and I think he's still in it. This is Friday here. This is the day that the Full Send podcast with Antonio Brown came out. We are fresh off listening to that. And we can say the dude may not be fucked up in the head or whatever from CTE, but this dude is on a different wave spiritually, mentally, and the dude seems to simply not care about football. Krev, you get into this because there's some wild shit that's happened.
Yeah, so I'm going to make a separate segment about this on our show for anyone who's listening to this in the full segment. But Antonio Brown, so he claims that he injured his ankle and he did miss practice Thursday and Friday. And the story unfolds as Bruce Arians asked Antonio Brown, told him to be on the field for consecutive plays. And Antonio Brown said no. He didn't want to play because he had a bum ankle. And he exposed text messages on Instagram that made it aware to Arians that his ankle was, quote unquote, as he says, messed up, fucked up. And that whatever, Antonio Brown was also, for people who want to say that Antonio Brown quit on his team and that he might be faking his injury or whatever. Antonio Brown was only a couple catches away from very big money incentives, was only 60 yards away from very big money incentives, and only
$2
one.
million in incentives he missed out on that you're talking about. Not just little money, $2 million.
Yeah, we're talking about 300 grand incentives for catches, 500 grand yards for catches. I think another 400 grand if he had like 2 more touchdowns in this regular season, including in playoffs.
And also probably plus playoff incentives when you make it. Everyone gets bonuses in that.
Yeah.
Like,
so I knew I've looked at the breakdowns of it individually, but this is just proving that Antonio Brown more than likely did not fake his injury, which don't get me wrong, we watched the Full Send podcast. Antonio Brown is on some other shit, whether it's spiritual, whether he's messed up in the head, whether he's just a cuckoo lunatic, but he's got that cocky swagger to him, along with just some, I don't even know. I mean, that dude might be listening to a little bit too much Bob Marley, maybe smoking the Bob Marley a little bit too much. But
on something, brother.
But if Antonio, I'm just gonna speak my opinion on this, and you can take this however much you want. And we've talked a little bit about this behind camera, but Antonio Brown is a world-class talent. No one can deny that. Yeah, that hit on that he took from Burfish or Burf, however you say it. Yeah, a couple years ago probably did mess him up in the head, and dude probably does have some problems, but again, you can't judge every book by the cover. Yeah, everyone looks at Antonio Brown in the limelight and sees that guy's a lunatic. He's done some stuff in an unconventional way with the Raiders, with the Buccaneers, with the Steelers, and I mean, if that dude needs some help, I hope he gets some serious help because I never want to see someone struggle like that. But the way he's talking about Tom Brady and the way he talks about everyone else and how he puts himself on a pedestal higher than everyone else, I can see why he's the villain in everyone's story. And I mean, I don't know if the dude's ever going to come back to the NFL. If he does, great. If he doesn't, who cares? But I mean, Antonio Brown, if you're looking for another interview to tell your story, Krebs Corner and Just a Bit Outside will Zoom call you if you ever get a hold of this clip. So, but I mean, go ahead, take away what you think of Antonio Brown and his action. There's also my last comment. There's a time and place. Yes, him taking off his shoulder pads and running out of MetLife, cheering everyone on. He admits that he did that as a mistake, and yeah, that was a clown move. I mean, no denying about that. I'll be on record and say that's a clown move. But no one knows who goes through each other's head. Everyone acts about situations different. And I'm sure he's not the only human that would act that way. It's just Antonio Brown has been the villain in everyone's NFL picture so long. Why not throw another story on him?
Yeah, this is not the first place he's had problems with, clearly. I mean, Pittsburgh, Oakland, New England, and now here. And it's not just that, it's going through Bill Belichick, it's going through Mike Tomlin, it's going through Bruce Arians. Like 3 coaches that are legit names in this league, legit players love to play for.
Hall of Fame.
But it seems like one fucking just personal idiot is just stupid about it. He said that Arians told him to get back in and he was hurt. And then Arians told him you're cut. And at that point he said, oh, why would I want to wear this logo on my chest? Sure, whatever, dude. I mean, I think there's a little bit better way to go about it. I mean, Mike Evans, OJ Howard, you could tell some guys were trying to calm him down. There ain't no calming down this guy. He's a wild cat. And like you said, he's got some swagger to him. We'll just say that, some cockiness. He likes to feel sexy, as he says. He had 3 catches for 26 yards. Yeah, you've clearly seen it. The one route he runs where he in, out, in. I mean, there's not a lot of explosion on that route, but you can tell he seemed to be running decently fine. There's video out today that he was limping around in the warm-ups that was there. I mean, a lot of people have some pretty pimp walks, so I mean, I'm not going to count a limp, but dude's got some swagger to him. Dude has some problems. I wouldn't have took my shirt off and ran off the field. I probably wouldn't have done that to my team. I probably wouldn't have bitched, but that's not me. That's Antonio Brown. Now you're going to miss out on a key role in a possible Super Bowl team. I'm not sure if they'll get there now, but like you said, without Chris Godwin, you are their number 2 receiver, if not the number 3, and that's behind Brady's butt buddy Gronk, who you can just say that's 1-1, like clearly. So other than that, the second wide receiver on this squad is going to get a lot of run, a lot of work, opposite of Mike Evans. You said 5 catches last year in the Super Bowl. He had a touchdown there. I'm not sure how many chances you can have, though. The way he's handled this, it's not just his team and not just him. It's the whole league and the whole NFL in general that looks kind of clownish right now. Whether a team gives him another shot to be determined. He's going to have that ankle surgery, as apparently there is serious problems with that ankle. Listen, we can only go off what we can go off of as Bruce Arians and everyone else. The dude was out there. The dude was playing. Then he all of a sudden just doesn't want to play and not want to earn his contract incentive. Yeah, I'd assume you want to earn that money and stay out there, especially against the Jets, which seems like an easy opponent. I mean, personally, I would rather get it against the Jets than, who do they play this week? The Carolina Panthers in that secondary. Missed out on some money. Clearly a lot more at stake here, though, with Antonio Brown. He's a talent. He's a talent. The dude is clearly one of, I'm not going top 5. I'll go top 10 for sure. Receivers of all time. Top 10 talents for sure.
Talent.
Dude had problems at Central Michigan. The dude's had problems at a lot of places. This isn't the first, and I hope it's the last.
The only thing I would say about the Antonio Brown thing is I was very interested in the Full Send podcast. They asked him if he was interested in signing anywhere, and actually he just cleared waiver wires, so he is a free agent now, realistically. But he stopped everyone, Bob Memory, Kyle, Salim, anyone who's familiar with the Full Send podcast. He stopped them all and goes, fam, I'm not healthy to play. I'm not going to play this year, which is very interesting because he's really realizing that, like, he's hurt. And I think he wants to get healthy and try to prepare for next year. So it'll be interesting to see if he gets another chance. But moving on to comeback player of the year, we have a lot of names. The 4 preseason names we had that I'll talk about that were top to bottom was Dak led the race. Dak Prescott was the preseason leader and the comeback player of the year. Then it followed 3 guys that are tied: Joe Burrow, Saquon Barkley, and Christian McCaffrey. And Joe Burrow has just seemed to do everything but seal the case for his position in winning this. And I think it's shocking because Dak at one point had one of the best teams in the AFC, still making the playoffs as a highly scouted NFC playoff team. But it just seems like Joe Burrow has done everything but solidify his name on that trophy. Your opinion on the comeback player of the year?
Yeah, this seems to be a quarterback award now. Quarterbacks have won the last 3 and they've won 13 out of the last 19. I mean, Dak Prescott, we clearly know how devastating and tragic his ankle injury was. It was nasty. I mean, I don't like watching them injuries. I saw it once or twice, and then I'm good to see it ever again. On the year, though, they are 11-5, the top of that NFC East. 4,154 yards, 32 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 3 fumbles, which are very key, and he was also sacked 29 times. He's the favorite right now for this award. As you said, he is minus 140. Joe Burrow is the only other one that seems logical to win this at plus 110. Once again, the top of the AFC North, these guys are 10-6. He has more passing yards at 4,611. 34 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, and also sacked 51 times. I mean, Burrow has a higher completion percentage. He leads the league in it at 70.4. Both of these guys are very similar, though. They have very similar offenses with trusty wide receiver rooms that are, I mean, 2 of the top 3 in the league for sure. I mean, we can say Bengals and Cowboys. They both have talented workhorse running backs and a solid defense that can get you a turnover every now and then. They're both very similar. I'm still going to go with Dak, though, just the way his injury was. It was horrifying. I mean, Joe Burrow's was too at the end of the day, though. A knee is a knee and ligaments inside. That foot was not pointing the right way after Dak's injury. They've struggled down the stretch here, clearly. It's funny, he struggled, Burrow's rising, so it's meeting in the middle here. Who can hold off each other for this last week? Dak Prescott has one more chance, as Joe Burrow is going to miss this game, as we talked. They got their playoff spot clinched, can't go any higher, can't go any lower. Brandon Allen will start this game. Just give me one more game of Dak Prescott in the end. I think he could go out, have a good game against Philadelphia. They're going to be forced to pass the ball, it seems like, with some guys missing on defense. I think Dak can come out and win this award. Where are you at on it?
Yeah, like I said, I think Joe Burrow is going to win this award just because of what he's going to do in the postseason too. And I just think that the media has been so much hyped around Joe Burrow these past couple of weeks. Dak hasn't received that media attention that Burrow has, and Burrow's receiving comparisons to Patrick Mahomes and Yellow Jacket. Like, these comparisons are way premature. We talked about it last week in our episode. These comparisons are way too premature, but I do think Joe Burrow ends up winning this award. So moving on to our NFL playoff preview. We're going to talk about what the situation looks like now if the NFL ended today and moved into the playoff picture. We have at first the number 1 seed Titans the number 1 seed Titans and the number 1 seed Green Bay getting buys. So we will go off of the AFC picture. We have the Buffalo Bills and Patriots are an in-division rivalry game and playing as the 4 and 5 seed in the AFC. So who do you think would win that one?
I mean, going off that, I would have to go Buffalo. New England's playing good. Not sure who's going to get in there. Clearly, this picture is going to shake up a lot. I don't know. Actually, I guess these two won't be shifted, will they? I guess these two will play. Well, I don't know.
Buffalo could go up to 3 and Bengals, or is Buffalo for sure a 4 lock?
Buffalo can clinch the AFC East with a win or New England loss. It's just that simple. So one's going to be 4, one's going to be 5, it seems like, based off of those records.
Just home field advantage.
Yeah. Other than that, you're going off home field, which crowd's going to show up. Clearly, Bills Mafia will. I'm sure the Patriots will travel well. Curious to see who's going to get this first round bye. Kansas City, all they have to do is win. You'd think they can, but Tennessee has a pretty easy game this week. Talked about Cincinnati. They're not really going to move anywhere. Buffalo, New England, we talked about, but now we get down to the Chargers and Vegas. That's where the bottom of this playoff really can shuffle. There's 2 spots open. Right now they're held by the Colts and the Chargers. What do you think is going to happen down the stretch, and go over that picture?
Yeah, the Colts or you want to talk about the Chargers Raiders, or do you want me to talk about the Colts?
Just a playoff picture here is going to be 6 and 7.
Yeah, I think the Colts are going to end up being 6 seed. All they have to do is beat the Jaguars to lock up that 6 seed, and I don't see the Dolphins being the Patriots. So I think that the Colts stay right there. And I also think, and we'll talk about it later when we predict the winners of Week 18, I think that the Chargers will beat the Raiders. So I see the Raiders missing the playoffs and the Chargers locking up that 7th seed. It'll be interesting to see, though, because the Chargers and the Chiefs just played. And the Chargers led that whole game, forced them to overtime, and the Chiefs beat them in overtime. I would like to see the Chiefs be the 1 seed and the Titans be the 2 seed, because I think that would be a very good – whatever game it will be a very good first-round game, whether it is the Chargers playing the Chiefs or the Chargers playing the Titans. I think that will be one of the best first-round games we've had in a while. But I think all these first-round games for the AFC will be good. Bengals and Colts, that's really a game where the Bengals are playing at their strongest, but the Colts aren't playing that – or the Colts are playing just right behind them, being one of the best teams in the AFC, down this last 8-game stretch. So I'm very interested to see that game.
Yeah, you're talking about that. I think Indy and LA will both make it as well. The only other team I'd consider, like you said, Las Vegas and the Chargers clearly play each other. I'm on that Chargers side. Curious to see about that game, though. The only realistic scenario, though, for another team, which is Pittsburgh, is, like we said, Indy has to lose, and that's against Jacksonville. They're a 16-point favorite. Not sure if that's going to happen. Seems like Big Ben's going to miss them playoffs there. But like we said, if Pittsburgh wins and somehow Indy loses, the Chargers-Raiders game just can't end in a tie in that wild scenario where if both of them teams just tied it, that both of them teams get in automatically instead of the Colts, which would just be wild to me. It would, because like we said, if the Colts can win and that game can tie and they're out. It's just wild to think about that.
Yeah.
The NFC, I mean, it's pretty much solidified though, as there's only one more spot. What do you got for that?
Yeah, the NFC is a fun picture of, obviously Green Bay has the first round bye, so I think that they're the favorites to win the Super Bowl, let alone the NFC. Like I said earlier, the Cowboys and the Cardinals are previewed to play in the first round, which we've already saw that game happen again, and it'll be in Jerry's World still. And I don't see the result being any different. I mean, I think the Cardinals proved to them, and I almost actually see the Cardinals winning by more and coming out with some more juice. The second part of the NFC playoffs, we have the 3-seed Bucks play the 6-seed Eagles, which I think the Bucks still win no matter who they play, whether it is the 6-seed Eagles or the 7-seed Saints. If the Saints can still hold on to that spot and the Eagles can, I think that they win that game no matter what. Now, if the Cardinals drop down to that 6 seed, I would take the Cardinals over the Buccaneers. But moving on to LA, being the 2 seed, I think that they're one of the not so strong, higher seeded teams in the NFC. But I mean, with Cooper Kupp and how Matt Stafford's been force feeding him, they're basically proving someone to stop him. I see him rolling over the Saints, and I am very interested to see a Rob Gronkowski, Tom Brady matchup versus Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp.
Stafford will actually be playing the 49ers this week, and that's the team that has a chance to, like we said, the only things that's really going to change here is the Rams and Cardinals. That division has not been decided yet. Rams have the Niners, the Cardinals have the Seahawks. Listen, if the Rams lose that game, the Cardinals can bump all the way up to 3. They would not be 2 at the Rams because the Rams hold the tiebreaker over the Buccaneers as they beat them earlier. The Bucks would be above the Cardinals, so it'd be 3 for the Cardinals versus 6. At that point, you would be matching up with San Francisco, I believe. Just curious to see what happens. I think San Francisco has a legit shot this week. They just have the Rams number. Kyle Shanahan has Sean McVay's numbers. Just so much can happen. After that, though, I mean, we're talking about New Orleans or San Francisco. So San Francisco, they have to win. If not, the Saints, all they have to do is win. I mean, I don't know. I feel like the Niners are going to get in. I don't feel like that Saints team is going to have enough juice to go out and win. I just don't. I mean, Atlanta's not the worst team, but they're not the best team. So curious to see what happens. But yeah, I mean, playoff picture's almost set. Excited for this last week of football that we're going to talk about to determine that picture.
Yeah, we'll talk about our Week 18 picks moving into our just typical segments that we do every week. Week 18, we start off with the Chiefs playing the Broncos, 4:30 Saturday. I'll take the Chiefs.
I'm going to take the Chiefs as well. I mean, if you needed any reason to question this game, it'd be just questioning that Denver's secondary, but without Patrick Surtain, without Ronald Darby, those guys are both put on IR for this last game. It's going to be very, very, very hard. That secondary solid, but without Surtain just being a lockdown guy and Darby being your nickel, very, very tough. I think Kansas City rolls in this one. Watch out for Javonte Williams, though. The last game of this season, I'd look for him to go have a big game to try to prove to that organization, listen, you don't need Melvin Gordon. I'm the workhorse. Kansas City rushing defense isn't the best. Javonte has some potential here this week.
Saturday night football game, we have the Cowboys playing the Eagles, which are 2 teams in the playoffs. I'll take the Cowboys in this one.
Got the Cowboys. They're going to be missing Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence there. Big losses. Also going to be missing Trevon Diggs and Jerron Kearse. I don't know. Just missing some guys for this last week with COVID and knick-knack injuries. I think they can win this game, though. Like I said, you're going to have to rely on Dak passing because Zeke's just not it these last few weeks. That ankle brace just seems like he doesn't have any burst I mean, he hasn't had it in a while, but just no burst really to that game unless Pollard gets in there, which he's also projected to miss this game. It's very, very tough for them to run the ball, pass the ball, get a lead in this. Philadelphia, they're going to try to run the ball, missing Miles Sanders in this game. Some linemen are questionable. I think Dallas can win.
Next game, we have an AFC North matchup that we talked about. The Cincinnati Bengals will travel to Cleveland, and I got the Browns. I have the Browns in this one solely because Joe Burrow isn't playing.
I have the Browns as well. You're talking about Burrow not playing. It's also Baker not playing, so you get a healthy quarterback in there. You get Case Keenum in there. Actually make them believe you're going to run some play action boots and just get him out of the pocket, move them around. Also, I mean, let's just point out the obvious. The Bengals don't have TJ Watt. I mean, Trey Hendrickson's a nice piece. Ogunjobi, I mean, he might have a big game against his former team. Just not too sure about that. These receivers, I mean, without Burrow, they're not going to have the same effectiveness. So without that, you figure might rest these guys a little bit. Cleveland, they have a lot to play for here just for pride, it seems like. I think they can win this one at home for their fans.
The 13-3 Packers are playing the 2-13 Lions. I got the Packers in this one.
Got the Packers. They're going to be not resting guys. They'll be playing them, which I love. Don't put that extra rust on those guys. David Bakhtiari was back at practice this week. First time he's participated in a practice fully this year. He might play. He's questionable. Jair Alexander, like we said, his practice window's activated. He won't be playing. This team's looking dangerous for the postseason. For this game, though, I feel like the Lions can come out, put up a little fight without Jared Goff, though, as he's questionable again. I'm not trusting Tim Boyle against this Packers defense, which has been key for them all year long.
Moving on, next game, we have the Bears playing the Vikings. And the record's only one game away, but the line is 6 points away. I'll take the Vikings.
Got the Vikings as well. This could be a battle of coaches with their last chances. I mean, Nagy seems like he's already gone, but Zimmer, there's rumors about him being on his last straw. Not in agreement because I just don't feel you can get a better guy. But these guys are going to be playing for their coaches, I feel like. Home game at Minnesota, Skull always shows out. The guys get in there and get loud. Nice new stadium. Inside, Dalvin Cook just going to run the ball. Without Akeem Hicks in the middle of that Bears defense, big loss. I like Dalvin Cook and the Vikings this week, playing for Mike Zimmer and possibly the last game. Also, though, just toss this out there. I hope this is the last time we're talking about Matt Nagy on this show.
Me too.
I hope it's the last time. Don't want to talk about him anymore. For field's sake, get a coach in there. Not this guy.
The Washington football team will visit the New York Giants. I'm taking the Washington football team in this one.
Washington football team as well. This is a team that we talked about a few weeks ago I thought would be in this playoff picture. They stumbled there against the Eagles sometimes, and now they're just not going to make it. Sucks. That's the way it ends, though. They got something to play for, though, as this Giants team. I mean, shit, you've seen them over the last few weeks. They're just down and out, it seems like. Credit to Saquon for having 100 rushing yards last week, but that team's a shit show right now. Once again, backup QB being in there without Daniel Jones. Just too many signs point to Washington for me.
The Indianapolis Colts played the Jacksonville Jaguars. I got the Colts in this one.
Got the Colts. Would love to see what Trevor Lawrence has in stake. There's a lot of talk about Jaguars fans showing up in clown suits. And for a rookie quarterback, you kind of got to feel for him because this is not on him. This is just the whole organization as a whole. This is on Shad Khan for hiring Urban for the draft process and hiring Trent Blocky. With Urban gone, those guys are trying to get the GM out there and start fresh as a whole. I hope Trevor Lawrence has one good game left this season. The dude deserves it. He's been through hell with no weapons. I mean, come on, one of his top receivers, Jamal Agnew, for the year, was playing cornerback for the Lions last year. Just not a very solid team down there. I wish Lawrence can get something going this week and end the season on a positive note. Not sure if that's going to happen. Jonathan Taylor, most likely a big game. Just point out the obvious.
Steelers play the Ravens. Ravens open up as a favorite, but I got the Steelers. Big Ben. I mean, it's his last game in the NFL ever. I think that he comes out and wins this one.
Got the Steelers as well. We talked about Big Ben throwing 48 times last week. Not a lot of yards, but that Cleveland secondary is a lot better than this Ravens secondary. Missing a lot of guys back there. Also missing a Doffaway, the pass rusher. That's a rookie. Ravens, they're missing a lot of guys, as been known all year, without Lamar for this last game. I'm not sure if this offensive line, which has both of their guards questionable, can hold up against this pass rush. Huntley was sacked 5 times last week. Now that Steelers pass rush is coming in there. With TJ Watt, once again, 1 sack away from that record. I feel like he's not going to want to tie it. He's going to want to have that single solely. So TJ Watt, Steelers this week, Big Ben's farewell game. I like him.
Titans and Texans. Who you got in this one?
Titans and Texans. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Titans just based off of, well, they're the Texans. Davis Mills has played great this year, but Tennessee, with the boost of Derrick Henry being back at practice this week, could just put a little jolt of juice in that building. A.J. Brown's back. Julio's getting back. I mean, with Henry being back, these boys are teaming up for a playoff run, which seems like they do every year. I don't think the Texans are going to be the one to ruin the party. I think the Titans can win this one, win that AFC South battle.
Saints and Falcons. Who you got?
I got the Saints in this one. Really,
I got the Saints.
Sure.
I got the Saints in this one too, but I got your same reaction.
It's the fact the Saints have something to play for. They may not make the playoffs, but you're still playing for something. San Francisco, once again, you win, you're in. New Orleans, you win, and San Francisco loses, you're in. They just have a little more something to play for. I mean, I'm going to go with that defense at the end of the day. They're playing very, very well. And I mean, come on, Matt Ryan don't have a lot of weapons there right now. The defense is not solid. AJ Terrell, he doesn't have a number one receiver to lock down on. So you take your strength of that defense away right there. Kamara should be able to get enough yards to beat these shitbags.
The Jets I got the Saints too, but like the same reaction, only because the Saints have playoffs on the line and Falcons don't. The Jets and the Bills, I'll take the Bills easily in this one. Don't got to talk about it.
Got the Bills, like we said, Josh Allen, 2 interceptions in those last 180-some attempts. Very good secondary in Buffalo. They're missing some corners, but that secondary of the safeties, Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde, they both have 5 interceptions each this year. Protect the ball, possibly come out and do something in this game. Just don't think you're going to win it. I got the Bills going to the playoffs with some momentum.
49ers and Rams. I have the Rams winning this one, but I was very picky on it. I did not know if I could trust Jimmy Garoppolo in his last game or not. As a 49er, probably.
See, the thing about this is I'm going the opposite way. I'm taking the Niners, and I just don't think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to play. He's questionable and all this talk of, oh, I want to be out there. I want to be out there. That's cool, Jimmy. You want to be out there. So is Baker Mayfield. But at the end of the day, who wants you to be out there? I think the organization, they saw Trey Lance. He had some special throws. We're not going to say special game. He has some special throws, and he's got some speed and just explosiveness that a lot of guys don't possess in this NFL. With a pass rush as good as the Rams have coming at them, like we talked about, those linebackers in that 3-4, they get very far outside and force you to step up into Aaron Donald. I think Trey Lance is going to get out and run and use his legs this week. I just like the momentum they have going, and we'll get into it later. These guys have won a lot of games against them. NFC West is looking to get 3 teams in the playoffs for only the 8th time ever. I think they'll get it done this week, and the only way that happens is with these 49ers winning. They're going into LA, but we've seen LA come out flat in their own stadium. Like I said, I like the Niners, like what their offense is doing, and their defense isn't too shabby themselves right now. I like the Niners.
Patriots play the Dolphins. Patriots look like they have a lock spot, but if they win, they're in. I got the Patriots.
I have the Patriots, and it's a really, really, really close feeling for me. The ultimate gut feeling I have is I don't trust Tua Tagovailoa throwing to that Patriots secondary. Mac Jones is going to be smarter with the football overall out of the battle of these Alabama quarterbacks, and he's going to go against the better secondary. The secondary for the Dolphins has really turned it around these last few weeks. That's why they're in this position they were on the playoff border, but they were close and they had a shot. This weekend, though, I'm just not going to pick Tua. Would love to see them get Deshaun Watson down there next year, just any quarterback, because that defense is special. They have some special guys down there, like Mac Jones this week, though.
Arizona Cardinals play the Seattle Seahawks. I have the Cardinals.
At the Cardinals as well. Cardinals are a great team on the road this year. You're going to – oh, no, never mind. They're at home this game. I'm sorry. Listen, I mean, Homer Road, this is a big game you got to show up for. They played very, very good last week. Chase Edmonds, he's going to miss this game. Marco Wilson and Rondell Moore as well. Once again, Rodney Hudson being with this team, though, they're playing very, very good with him. Without Bobby Wagner in the middle of this defense, without Jamal Adams in the secondary of this defense, it's not the same. I like my offense this week. I like my defensive line this week, putting pressure on Russell Wilson and that soft-ass line. And like I said, I would love to see Byron Murphy shut down DK. Not a DK guy. Byron's a very, very talented corner. He shows up when there's a big-time matchup. He kind of plays down to his competition, believe it or not. He'll have to show up for DK, and I think he will.
Panthers play the Buccaneers. I got the Buccaneers in this one.
Got the Bucs as well. There's a lot of turmoil going on there. At the end of the day, the Panthers, they have some shit going on too. McCaffrey, it seems like he might be on the trading block. You don't know what you're going to do with your quarterback. Darnold is back. I hope he gets the most run in this game because we've seen what Cam Newton is. Would love to see Darnold get something going. Worried about DJ Moore, though, against this healthy Buccaneers defense. That's about the only chance you have to win this game is DJ Moore and those guys going off. I like Brady and the Bucs.
And our last game to talk about, we have the Chargers play the Vegas Raiders. Your win, you're in. I got the Chargers.
Got the Chargers as well. I'm curious to see how many Raiders fans make the trek from Oakland to Las Vegas for this game. Listen, this team's been through a lot of shit this year with coaches, DUIs, cutting first-round draft picks. Not just the DUI, but the other Damon Arnett as well. A lot of bad things have happened to this team. Getting Darren Waller back is a huge boost, but we've talked about what Derwin James does to tight ends. That game against Kansas City, when Kansas City went off at the end, that happened when Derwin James was out of the game. Derwin James in the game held Travis Kelce to one catch for 12 yards. He's got Darren Waller this week coming off IR. He should be healthy, ready to go. Derwin's explosive. I love him in this matchup. I would love to see the Raiders win just because it'd be a cool story. But I like this first-year coach for the Chargers, Brandon Staley. I like the game plan he's going to toss out on defense to slow down Darren Waller.
Now we get into our section, our lines, our locks. What are your three locks?
I like the Patriots at -6 at the Miami Dolphins. I feel like you can cover a touchdown, especially against Tua on that other side. A turnover or two is most likely coming. Just say that now. Make the most of your field position and run the ball. Feel like these boys can come out and win by, once again, a touchdown. I also like the other AFC East matchup. I think the New York Jets can cover 16 points at Buffalo.
I got that too.
Zach Wilson played really, really good last week. The Bills, they're already set in stone. Feel we'll see some Mitch Trubisky in this game, whether it's at the halftime, whether it's at the fourth quarter. Putting in a backup quarterback, you have a chance for those guys to kind of let down. Jets can get in there. Listen, just lose by less than 17 or 16 and you're good. I think it's simple. Zach Wilson want to end the year on a good note, getting some positive momentum into a draft where they have 2 top 10 picks. The last line, Arizona versus Arizona -6.5 versus Seattle. I just think we're rolling right now. Got a lot of good things going. Without Bobby Wagner on that defense, without Jamal Adams already, it was a lot for Wagner to do. Jordan Brooks can only do so much in there. The Lions playing really, really well with Rodney Hudson back. I think they can win by a touchdown. That should not be too hard. What 3 games do you like? Or 2, I'm sorry, other than the Jets?
I'll say, yeah, I got the Jets 16 and a half or 16 versus the Bills. And I also have the Texans plus 10 to the Titans. The only reason I have that is because I don't think the Titans will play all their best players 4 quarters. So I think that Texans can get some junk scores, maybe a touchdown in the 4th quarter to cover. And then my line that's a lock of the week, and I'll just do my bold prediction right on top of it because it has something to do with it, is I think the Green Bay Packers can cover 3.5 points against the Lions. And why I believe that is because my bold prediction of the week is that Jordan Love will have 250 yards and 3 touchdowns versus the Lions. He didn't look very impressive versus the Chiefs, which is why this is such a bold prediction, only 250 yards and 3 touchdowns for a backup quarterback. He went 19 for 34, which that's not that bad, but he only had 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and 190 yards. Filling in big shoes with Aaron Rodgers. He's got Lazard. He's got, they say they're not going to play. They say they're not going to rest all their starters. So whether that is a quarter or a drive, I have that Aaron Rodgers and Devontae in that bag. And who knows who's going to play and how long they're going to play. A.J. Dillon's been tearing it up. So I'm assuming that he's going to take most of the reps. So that's my bold prediction, and that's my line. That's lock of the week.
Yeah, it's all the question of how many minutes and how much time are the starters going to play. I mean, I feel like once you can get up in this game, you can kind of put it on cruise control and toss Love in, let him have some fun. At that point, yeah, let the boy go ham, toss the ball down the field, let him toss that pigskin around. You're talking about what your backup quarterback's going to do. Mine was a backup on the year. And like I said, I just don't believe this guy's going to go this week. Plus, I don't believe the organization wants him to play. I believe Trey Lance against the Los Angeles Rams has 150 passing yards and 150 rushing yards. I think he can get them both. Like I said, if you're going to be in that pocket, you're going to have to get out and scramble. 150 passing is not very hard to stumble into. I wanted to go higher, but I am worried ultimately that at the end of the day, once they get up or if they are having success in this game, they'll want to run the ball out. San Francisco has won 5 straight games versus this Rams team. That's the stat I was saving. Believe it or not, Kyle Shanahan hired at the same time as Sean McVay, very, very good friends. This is what's happening. Another scenario, this is a place that Matt Stafford could have went to if the Niners had kept all of their picks. Seemed like Shanahan was interested. Instead, Shanahan settles for Kyle Shanahan. I wouldn't say settled, but he gets Trey Lance. Kyle Shanahan gets Trey Lance. Like this team, Jimmy Garoppolo in their Week 10 win. Yeah, they once again 5 in a row. You had to win that game. They won 31-10. Jimmy Garoppolo 182 passing yards, 2 touchdowns on the day. The team as a whole had 44 rushing attempts for 156 yards. And that loss they suffered was the Rams' biggest loss since 2019. They have their number for whatever reason. I'm a believer in Trey Lance. I love the talent. I love the tape the kid has. I love the arm talent and the explosiveness overall. I want to see the boy get out and run and have some fun. This is a spot where San Francisco, I get you want to win to make it into the playoffs. You're also trying to see, are we going to keep Jimmy Garoppolo this offseason? There's a lot of teams that are in the market for a quarterback. Jimmy would not look bad in some places like Cleveland, Washington, Denver, Carolina. A lot of places this guy can go. You need to get some draft capital in return for what you traded away to get Trey. I think this is the perfect game to toss him out there, see what he can do. Like I said, I just don't believe Jimmy's going to go this week. I trust this rookie. He is very, very, very talented. That's why he went 3rd overall. Trey Lance, good do your thing, boy. Make me proud and get the Cardinals the 3rd seed in this playoffs.
That's all for this Just a Bit Outside episode. Week 18 preview. Follow our other episodes, and we will be following with some separate segment clips that we have from this episode on our page. I'm Braden Krevling. co-host Nathan Keener, signing off.
Peace.